Yep. Hello everybody, I'm Roxy and this is Rocky VS. And today I bring you the History Challenge tag, which was created by the 4 amazing hosts of the History Challenge readathon. I will leave the links to all their channels down below so you can check them out. They are all fantastic. Number 1, yes, I printed the page. How prepared am I? Okay, number 1, what first got you into history? I've always been into history as long as I can remember, possibly because one of my favorite books, or actually 3 of my favorite books as a child, were these random high school history books we had in our house. I don't know why my dad bought them. They weren't the books he used as a student because they were too new for that, but they also couldn't possibly be the ones that I would use. They were way too old for when I was going to be in high school. I don't know why we had them. I love them. So one of them was prehistory, one of them was 18th and 19th century. That was my favorite, and the other was 20th century. Also, I had this computer game on a CD where you could take tours and discover things from ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. I don't remember if it didn't have an ancient Rome level, but I definitely didn't visit that as much. If it did have it, that prompted a whole time where I was obsessed with Greek and Egyptian history. Number 2, what is your favorite history book / author? I would say those are kind of my favorites, although I haven't read them in years. I still have them. They are probably very out of date and very old school in their approach to history, but yeah, I love them dearly. I would say right now my favorite history book is So We Read On by Maureen Corrigan. Fair enough, this is more literary criticism than history itself, but it does feature a bunch of Fitzgerald biography and also a biography of The Great Gatsby itself. It's actually a lot more historical than just using the text for literary criticism. So I think it counts. 3. What is your most anticipated history book you've not read yet? I have it right here. Istanbul, A Tale of Three Cities by Bethany Hughes. I got this last year in Ireland. It was funny because I saw it a couple of times and I was on the fence because it's such a chunker and so such a big commitment to carry around in my suitcase. But I then became obsessed with I have to know about Istanbul. Don't ask me why, I just did. And I bought it and I started it. But then instead of carrying it on my backpack, I put it on my suitcase and then I kind of lost momentum. So I want to go back and start it over and read it for Nonfiction November. This is like my number 1 priority for Nonfiction November. I'll make it fit any challenge. You just watch me. And it was hilarious because once I decided to buy this book, no bookstore carried it, and some had it, but they had the large paperback version or hardback version. Imagine this in a trade paperback. It was humongous. And what was even funnier was that I had to ask, do you have A Tale of Three Cities? Because Istanbul could also be a lot of other things and I didn't remember the name of the author. So I kept saying A Tale of Three Cities and people looked at me like, is this woman dumb? And I was like, no. It's a non-fiction book about Istanbul. Oh yeah, we don't have that, until I finally got the last copy at a shop. Very, very excited about that one. Then number 4, what is your favorite time period? What book do you want to read or have read about it? So for me, it's definitely turn of the century, from the 19th to the 20th century, all around the globe. Not only Belle Epoque or end of Victorian era, but in general, even for example Japan. I'm really interested in that period of time. Here in Chile too, and of course the first half of the 20th century. I'm just amazed by the ideas of modernity and I have very conflicting feelings about it. I guess like most people do, but it's a fascinating concept for me. I've read a lot of books that deal with this. A book that I want to read. There are a couple of books. The Dawn and the Twilight of the Belle Epoque. I found them when I was trying to look for books on composers and classical music, and of course these deal with Debussy. I just became very interested in them. The thing is that they are ebooks, and although I had a really good ebook kick when I just started reading music books, I'm finding it harder and harder to prioritize ebooks. So I don't know when I'll get to them, quite honestly. And of course, you also know I have a bunch of modernist literature related history books, so you know that's coming. Number 5, what time period would you like to learn more about? What book do you want to read or have read about it? I definitely want to read more early history of other countries outside of the ones I already know. And this is not necessarily prehistory, although I would be interested in that, but just in general, before European colonization, I'm very interested in that. I don't currently have a lot of books about that, aside from like broad histories of some countries, more early history in more countries. That's my answer. Number 6, what is your favorite person from history? What book do you want to read, have read about it? Oscar Wilde. I love him. I feel such a sense of kinship with Oscar Wilde for many reasons, including his less than stellar moments. I'm so interested in everything related to him. I could show you all my Oscar things, but we would be here forever. I think I'm most excited for reading Making Oscar Wilde, which I've already started. I'm saving it for Victober, so that's coming. But I have a couple more biographies. I've read a lot of critical essays on his work, but also on his life and public persona. I've read a lot of his stuff, not only his fiction, but his nonfiction as well. I love his essays. One book that I'm particularly excited about is a selection of his essays by Richard Ellman. I was very happy when I found that. I'll put a picture here. I don't have it here with me, but I'm just so excited to get to that. Number 7, what history topic would you like to see more fiction/non-fiction about? I'm very fortunate because I am very nerdy and very bookish, and I think a lot of equally nerdy and bookish authors are writing the history books that I want to read. I've enjoyed that trend, revisions of history where we include women. So more books with that perspective I think are always good. And I also think we can't have enough microhistories. I think the objects we interact with are so important and influence our lives so much more sometimes than we realize. I'm really interested in that. So I think we cannot have enough microhistories. Then number 8, what non-book resources do you enjoy when learning about history? I learn better when I'm reading. That's just the way my brain functions. Maybe because I'm used to it, I don't know. So my favorite resource will always be books. However, I do also enjoy listening to YouTube videos on history. My 2 favorites right now are probably biographics and Crash Course. I really like Crash Course. And the thing is that I know they have wonderful graphics, but I get easily distracted when I'm watching things and not doing something else. I mostly listen to them as if they were podcasts. Ironically, I don't listen to many history podcasts. I do listen to some, but I think my favorite are YouTube videos. Then number 9, what's a fun history fact quote you can share with us? I don't know how well known this is. I'm fascinated by how popular Walt Whitman was with other authors. They idolized him in a very homoerotic way. So for example, there are some very salacious Bram Stoker letters that he wrote to him. It might have been just admiration, and of course Bram Stoker was married, although when has that ever stopped anyone, right? But yeah, when I learned about those letters, I was kind of like, there you go. And of course, Whitman and Wilde also met, and then they both reported letting on that something might have happened between them, but most likely they were both exaggerating. So actually when I had to write about Whitman for my poetry class, I titled that journal entry, Whitman the Gentleman Killer. He was madly popular. Number 10, shoutouts to a booktuber you enjoy who also reads a lot of history books. Well, I watch all 4 of the hosts, so I definitely think you should check them out. I also want to shout out Natalie from A Curious Reader, who reads very eclectically, and I love her channel. But also she and I have very similar interests, including our love for music books. And of course, like every nonfiction lover, I watch Olive from A Book Olive. Her recommendations are just amazing. Specifically with microhistories, I think, or like really niche topics, it really matches my taste. And I actually checked out So We Read On because you read it and loved it so much. I mean, it's not really a shout out. If you're watching me, you most definitely know her already, but I still think it's interesting to mention. So that was the tag. Did you enjoy it? I enjoyed it. I like doing tags and I love reading history. I haven't been reading as much as I wanted to. A lot of things have been going on, but I'm still excited, and I'm going to try for this week where this is going up to read as much as I can. I'm really going to make reading my priority. So yeah, that's it. If you like it, please give a thumbs up, please subscribe and comment. Have you read any of these books or answer any of the questions of the tag? I'm just really bad at tagging people, but I always do tags, even if people don't tag me. So do it. Answer the questions if you like history especially. If not, I encourage you to find like one aspect you're curious about and read one teeny tiny book. Very short introduction, for example. That's a good one. That's it. See you next time.